Hey peeps, Amma here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be talking all about NGOs. They're also known as NPOs. So if you're passionate about making a difference in your community, then this is the video for you. Joining me for today's conversation on NGOs is Kelly Baloyi, who is an activist. She's also a political science graduate, as well as a founder of an NGO known as Girls Leading Change. Thank you so much, Kelly, for joining me for this conversation. Welcome to the channel.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here today.
It's a pleasure.
Awesome.
Kelly, can you tell us what exactly is an NGO and how are NGOs important in society?
So NGO is a non-governmental organization, so it's not, we are registered under social development, and we are able to apply for funding, but it is not a government-owned organization.
Okay.
Basically, why NGOs are very important. NGOs, NPOs, whatever the case may be, you get community-based organizations as well. So you get the different, spheres of organizations with regards to the community. Why it's important is that we fill that gap. We fill that gap with government and the people on the ground. So basically what we see right now, government is not able to meet the needs of community. So we come in and we said, okay, we know the problem. If we can assist and if we can help, we will help, and we will fill that gap between government and the community. But it's also a non-NGOs and NPOs and community-based organizations. It's basically also just seeing what government can't see within our communities. We know that communities change every single day. People think that you did a study in this particular community 5 years ago, the community remains the same. It does not. A community changes almost every second. Say example, someone gets killed on a particular part of the community. That community changes because of the trauma that happened there. So we are the ones that's constantly within the communities, because you can't say that you're serving a community and not there every single day. So that is what we are. We fill that gap between government, fill the gap for government and what's happening in our communities.
It really sounds like you're very passionate about making a difference in ordinary people's lives. And so I'm also curious to know more about your NGO, the Girls Leading Change, and just tell us what inspired you to have such an NGO.
So Girls Leading Change is basically the result of years of activism. I think I started my activism 13, 14, 15, there around. I can't remember exactly when. And I started with Stand Out Youth. So that was just a campaign as getting young people in my community involved in, making the change, because I do believe the future and the success of our community is based on the young people. So I made sure that, let me mobilize the young people in my community. I was in student leadership on school, in the community, doing a lot of things. At that age, you're just like, I want to do something. I don't know what I want to do, but I want to do something. And then obviously got the young people in my community involved. We would have a Go Green Day. We would pick up papers. We had a substance abuse day where I mobilized about over 300 young people within the community. And it was just amazing, young people getting into one wall, in the community wall, and they were dancing and all these type of things. So for me, mobilization is a big thing for me. It's what I love doing. It's getting young people together for a particular cause. And so that went on until 16 years old on high school. And then obviously, high school starts asking for much more from you. And then my leadership went mostly into high school. I was the head girl, RCL for 3 years,
so
doing all these
leader.
things.
You are naturally a leader.
And just all these type of things on school. Got involved. Actually, I had my first overseas trip as well in my matric year. Another changing point for me was I had the opportunity to do a F&B ad where I did a speech. There was a whole lot of controversy around that ad. The ANC Youth League said no, this is disrespectful, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But it was a nice kickstart for my leadership career.
Yes.
Went through varsity, was also in a lot of leadership
roles.
leadership roles, not student politics, but student leadership. There's a difference. When once in student politics, that's when you're joining the political parties. Student leadership is I was the community interaction portfolio manager for the BA faculty.
Oh, wow.
So that was a big thing for me. After varsity, I had all these things going, but never had something registered, something that I can put my name on and say, this is what, I done.
So what inspired you to eventually register this NGO? And I'm also curious to know why the name Girls Leading Change. I'm so curious to know.
So through all that whole journey, I did a political academy with the co-founder Lindiwe Masibuko. So that's when she just left politics and she's like, I'm training the next leaders. And so from that academy, that's when I decided this is what I'm going to do. But what am I really going to do? And I said, you know what, I want to raise young women up, young girls, to take up leadership positions. And that's where the name Girls Leading Change came. So I have two other ladies that's working with Girls Leading Change on me with it. Amazing young women. So that's where the name came up, and we're just basically grooming the next generation of young female leaders.
So can you give us some of the examples of things that you've done with Girls Leading Change in the communities, and how you've made an impact in your community?
So I'm not sure if everybody knows about the book A Call to Lead by Whitereese Richardson. She is a woman that I met in America when I was in my matric year. She wrote this book called A Call to Lead for women of color, for young girls of color. So it's based on that book, on what we're doing. We are busy with the manual. So what we've been doing thus far was just, we want girls to know the issues in their community, and from that come up with ideas in order to solve it. So it's a nice interactive, we're engaging with the young girls, we're empowering them at the same time, and we are educating them, giving them the skills and the tools in order to do those things in the community.
So you run like workshops. How do you do that?
So we have our leadership workshops, but then we also have our needs-based arm to it. So we have our needs-based arm, we have our leadership seminars, we have our support, and we have our advocacy. So with our advocacy, we would go to the court with the young survivors. We do have gender-based violence is a big thing within our country right now. So recently we have been in Atlantis, where we've been assisting and just supporting actually these young women that I don't want to go into the details with that case. And then we have our support, where we have a psychologist that comes in and also tells us, listen here, this is the reason why on the girls' vision board she's not having much and things like that. And then our leadership seminars, my favorite, my baby,
your baby.
love it, where we are giving the girls the tools in order to lead within the community, see the issues within the community, and see where they can make a difference and make a change.
How do you recruit these girls? How let's say I'm interested to be part of Girls Leading Change and I want to make use of your services. How do I go about that?
So what we're doing it very practical right now. We have leaders. We empower each other as leaders. So we have the different communities, and there's different leaders within communities. And say, example, you are a mother in your community, and you say, I have about 20 girls that's always in my area, always at my house, or whatever the case may be. Then we will come in, because we want to have a contact point in that community, because we don't just want to come in and then go out again, you know? So we will contact, that mother will contact us, and then through that we will come in. So we are working with community leaders. We don't just go into a community and say, listen, we're going to do this. And so we have, contact points, and that is how we get involved. But also, if you want to volunteer, message us on social media, on Instagram, whatever the case may be, or message me as well. And then we will get you on board. Unfortunately, last year was very difficult due to COVID-19. We didn't have, PPE and things like that. So we were unable to get volunteers on board. And many young women were asking, Kelly, we want to get involved. So I do apologize to everybody that I had to say no to, but we are kind of getting in better standing right now.
So now that leads me to my next question on finances. I mean, you spoke about not able to get sufficient protective equipment for the COVID-19. But I'm keen to know, how do you sustain yourself financially as NPO, that's really a non-profit organization, right?
Yeah.
So how do you sustain yourself financially?
So that is always a difficult thing for NGOs and NPOs, the struggle of financing, getting finances, getting people to invest into your vision. For now, basically what we've been doing is just public donations, going on social media, asking for donations, literally begging people for donations. It is slow. I'm not going to lie. But and additionally to that, we do have our Survivor 2020 and Survivor 2021 bands, leather bands. So it's basically just a quick clip on. This is actually a bigger size. So we have this, and we can also, if you order one, and then we can put whatever you want on it. So that is also a way of fundraising. Generating funds. And if that is basically how we've been, especially for our dignity packs. Our dignity packs is basically, the pads, the sanitary towels, the roll-on, all those type of things. That is where we really need money.
So do you, just in terms of things like the products that you need, like sanitary pads, how can someone, let's say there's someone who's willing to buy those for you and donate to your NGO, how can they go about that?
So all my details is on social media. Just search Girls Leading Change on Facebook or on Instagram. My number's basically splattered all over there. And then I'll also organize in order to get it from you or for you to drop it. I love, getting people that donated to be part of the handing over, just to show that this is where, your money, where your donations is going to. So just go on social media. You can email us at info@girlsleadingchange.co.za. That's where we can get in touch.
Do you have any words of wisdom or words of inspiration just for our audience and anyone who's really passionate about making a difference in society and just really not so sure how to go about that?
Well, my encouragement, especially young women out there, is take up space. Our former Miss SA always speaks about taking up space. Taking up space is so important. And also, disrupt the status quo. We're so used to doing a certain things within our community. It's really about time that we come with our innovative ideas, because everybody's like, we want innovation, we want new things. Come up with ideas, implement your ideas, get other people involved for a good cause. I just want everybody just to be who they are and impact their communities, impact society, impact wherever they are, even in their workspace. So I do encourage everybody to just stand up, be who you are, and impact communities.
So let's say someone wants to open an NPO or an NGO, just like you. How can they go about that? How simple is it to open an NGO?
Funny enough, I actually do consulting. I do assist, upcoming NGOs, NPOs, or whatever, even businesses, if you want me to assist, because it is kind of a tedious process. It took me about, say, 5 years to actually get everything going. It can be easier now depending on if you did your thorough research. But it is you need to know the rules. You need to know what government wants, social development specifically wants, in order to accept and you're compliant, basically.
So you say you do consulting.
I do consulting on the side.
So you can help those who are curious, who want to know, the rules or the steps that's needed to register. Oh wow!
And the difference between NPO, NPC, NGO, CBO. So it's all these O's. I'm able to assist whoever would like to, open their own little organization and make a good change in their community.
So people can, for those who are interested in getting hold of you in terms of consulting, how do they go about contacting you?
I am on Facebook and on Instagram, Kelly Beloy Consulting. So it's just my name and my surname and consulting at the end. So then we can take a chat. Further on, have some coffee and
okay. Wow, Kelly, thanks a lot
for
sharing with us your your thoughts on NGOs and your experiences as a founder of an NGO yourself. It was really, really awesome having you in studio. So truly appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure.